A question that someone brought up is, are postage stamps money in any way? Now, the simple answer is no. They're a consumable item. They can be traded in barter. It's not illegal. And they have a face value. But other than some of the trappings of being like money or being like even hypothetical money, postage stamps are not currently any form of legal tender. There's an exemption for this, though. Exception. Postage stamps are not really legal tender. No one is required to take them or redeem them for something else. It's not illegal to do so, but it would be treated as a consumable item because postage stamps' intent at manufacture, very important, is to be used by affixing them to something you're sending through the mail by any means necessary. And they're expended because they're stamped no longer valid after they're used. They're expended. You can have a bus pass that's usable for an entire year at $52. Let's make it convenient. And a week later, it's worth $51 if someone wants to pay for it. Or if it was me and I was desperate, I'd give you the entire 52, even though you used it, because it still has the same value for the rest of the year that it would have had before. It's less money spent. There's a cutoff point after a certain point in the year where I would end up spending more money by buying it at whatever you're selling it for, rather than buying bus tickets for the month. Monthly tickets, monthly pass versus the yearly pass. Obviously, it's not going to be $52 a year. It's a lot more than that. But the point is, whatever its value is something we can agree upon. We cannot agree upon the value of a $1 bill because it doesn't require that we agree to it. A $1 bill has a $1 value. A 5-cent coin has a 5-cent value. A penny is worthless. However, you can take them in by the court, Lord, and oh my God, get money out of them, I guess. But what about the intrinsic value? All of the things the money is made out of is supposed to have a lower value than what its face value is, so that people don't chemically strip it of whatever writing it is or melt it down if it's a coin and then resell it for more value than they bought it for. You can get quarters, nickels, and dimes, and pennies that have a higher value at being melted down at one point or another, depending on when they were made, than their face value. There's a $5 gold coin that's as big as your hand. It's big. It's a medallion. It says $5 on it. You wouldn't sell it for $5. It's a gold bar. But then again, at one time, there was a declared definition of what a dollar was as 1/35 of an ounce of gold. Currency must have some essential value, like gold, intrinsic worth, like metal coins, etc., or it must represent credit or its ability to pay a debt as its essential value. It is reused by each recipient as a way of transferring that value, not expended by saying it's declared bad. And explicitly, you're told not to fold, spindle, or mutilate them because it's a felony or whatever. This note is legal tender for all debts, public and private, is on U.S. currency to assure people of its intended purpose, not on postage stamps, not on your birth certificate. A stock option paper or stock certificate or certificate of value is issued that doesn't say that. Nobody is required to take your stocks in IBM to pay for a house. It may be printed by the same place that might make birth certificates, but it's not a birth certificate. It doesn't declare that someone was born. It also doesn't declare that a business was born. There is no comparison. Sovereign citizens will scream and argue in the comment section. I don't care. They're just wrong. The intended purpose of this was to make sure that Barack Obama could be declared president. Not that he's worth $250,000 if you take him to the Vatican and they sacrifice him to the great reptilian overlord Tom Hanks. You know, that none of that shit's real. But yes, postage stamps were used at various times simply because they weigh less to transport. They're there already if you can get a postage stamp. They were used as coin value, up to $5, by the way. In the United States, the U.S. Civil War caused a severe shortage of coins. John Galt came up with the idea of embedding a postage stamp in a kind of a brass coin-shaped thing that had a window in it covered with mica, and this allowed people to have coinage that didn't require as much shipping and cost and extraneous horse crap, and it was declared to be legally officially currency if done that way and many other way. by the U.S. government. 1862 allowed the use of these coins and also essentially the stamps themselves as currency expediently for a while up to a value of $5. That's it. But nothing was stopping anybody saying, I'll trade stamps. I can use them as money for a while. Trading camps. Common low-denomination notes, this big, perceived as almost worthless or literally saying 10 cents existed. They were compared to hard currency like gold and silver, which took up less space and were more convenient and durable. People would call them shin plasters, which was a piece of paper soldiers put in front of their shin between it and the boot to prevent their shins from getting chafed or rash and also prevent losing a leg. Suddenly, a shin plaster is very valuable for what it does. Now, we're at the almost 6-minute mark, and I've tried to save everybody some time here. I'm going to go off on a tangent, but postage stamps have been used as money, literally money, by order of rule, or order of law, or ruling, and that's acceptable. People will look at the way things have superficial or very, very intrinsic characteristics and decide they're equivalent. A contract you and I make by writing it out on a sheet of paper and getting it notarized is only considered a fully authenticatable contract if it's easily read, has explicitly everything in it, explicitly stating what its purpose is, does everything it can to eliminate wiggle room so we can't get out of the contract unless we both agree to just destroy it. And the notary public stamp is that you have a person witnessing that it existed and that they were willing to state that they're stamping it as something they felt comfortable saying, this is an official agreement between two people. Is the stamp worth a lot? No. The person stamping it, their witness statement, them putting it in their little list of what they did that day, their signature, all of that shit gives authenticity to it. They are stating, essentially, not really, that they're authenticating it. The serial number on the dollar bill authenticates it, partially. It's extremely secure-based characteristics, the microprinting, the little fiber strip that might be in it, the chemistry of it. All of these things go together to authenticate it. A contract you have signed with a person that's on a sheet of paper that's an official piece of paper printed out for that purpose versus one printed using a printer, same value. It's the stamp and the authentication by a notary public. If I get the same paper that's used to make paper money, you used to be able to get shredded versions of it, and you could repulp the stuff to where it would be almost as good as, almost the same as, by getting a craft paper maker, as the paper that's used to make $100 bills. It isn't a $100 bill. The same piece of paper is used to be a $100 bill all the way down to $1. Or a $3 bill if you want to print out Nixon bills, which I helped do. And we had to have a little note that came with it, which was much more important, that said this is officially de-authenticating it to make sure nobody tried to use it as money. It even said this is not official money. But the paper it was printed on was very valuable. Even though it was like, literally, if you're not aware of it, it's about a penny's worth of value for making that complicated paper. It didn't give it the value of currency. It was a barter item. We could sell it and buy it because it was considered an art piece or a token or a novelty, but it wasn't considered real. It also had to be made larger, 150% of normal size. It had to be much bigger, so it wouldn't be confused. However, people would chemically strip it and try to make pound notes out of it because it's bigger. You can just cut it smaller and make it look like, or make $1 out of it maybe. So now the rant. Yes, we're at the 9-minute mark, but I just wanted to point out that the value of something is its intended purpose, authenticatability, authenticity, and sometimes based on a bunch of complicated stuff beyond it. Now I'm going to tell everybody my favorite little story about crossing a river with a fisherman. This changes every time. It gets better every time I tell it, because it's an example. How do you do things in a barter system? A lot of you have experienced, oddly enough, the last X number of years of coronavirus. Yes, I said it. YouTube will flag it. But anyway, once you say it, they flag it. And we all found that suddenly we wanted to bargain with people because a bunch of people hoarded stuff. Hoarders win sometimes. So you have a fisherman. He's on a river. It's a big river. Let's say it's the Columbia River. it can't be crossed by swimming it too easily. Boat's better. Unless I'm a really good swimmer, which means I don't have to pay him. I can't ask him for ferry time on it. Number one, his intended purpose and activity for the day is to catch fish. He goes into the river to catch salmon or whatever. He has plenty of salmon. He barters it for other things he needs. I need potatoes. I need hooks, weights. I need fishing line. I need bobbers. You don't have anything for me. Why should I give you a trip across the river? Now, I know something he doesn't. Knowledge is extremely powerful sometimes. And I ask him simply, how many weights do you need? How many hooks do you need? And how many feet of line do you need, or yards, per day that you expend? And he tells me, where do you fish? All around here. Do you know of your limits? Oh, it's from that bridge to that bridge because I have a contract with the king, let's say. Okay, so I go downriver from those locations and look for the hooks, line, bobbers, and everything else he lost. All of it. I spend the entire day collecting it. After he's done fishing, I come back and sell him back his own fucking property by restringing all of the monofilament into cord filament because I can. I can make 3-line filament weaved. I might do a hook stitch like you do for the first stage of doing petty point, or for yarn being put together because you're trying to knit a sock or whatever. I would knit the line into this thick cordage that can stretch a lot. Well, that's the good stuff. Where'd you get it? It's like spider wire. By the way, that is actually a product. I say, I've made this. How many fish do I get? You wanted to cross the river. How many fish? Now, I've given him back literally everything I could find along the water bank, which means he's not going to be able to do it even if I tell him how to do it. He's out of stuff. He gives me 5 fish. He says, I'll give you 10 more when I catch them. Oh, well, you'll give me 11 because you're making me wait. Okay, so it's 15 fish for shit that I found along the riverbank, and I knitted my own yarn for him so he can do something more important. He can catch bigger fish because it's thicker line. And I make new hooks out of the old ones by wrapping the line and making not 1 hook, but 3 of them back to back so he can catch something much bigger, which he can get more out of. He only has to catch 1 of those a week to be able to barter it for something more. So I leave with my X number of fish. I eat 1, cook the other, cook 1 and eat it, and the other 4 go into the snowbank because it's winter. Now, I don't have any housing, but in an ideal world, no one's stopping me from putting up a lean-to for the night. So the next day, I take my frozen fish to the guy selling potatoes because he also mentioned, I need potatoes. I don't eat fish anymore. I hate fish. So I go to the potato guy. I have this number of fish. How many potatoes? I don't even have to ask. He'd be like, oh, yeah. I get an entire wheelbarrow load of, potatoes. It's more than that, but he sold me the wheelbarrow. I go back with my wheelbarrow. How many potatoes do you want? I'll take all of them. I can fit it on the boat. They'll go bad, but I have a storage place for them. Okay, and I need the wheelbarrow. Here's the wheelbarrow. What do I give you? A lifetime of crossings, so I can do the same business on the other side of the river and make a mint by not having any talents except being able to observe that you keep losing your line and your weights and your bobbers. The bobber takes the line and the weight downriver, and I can find it all. And all I have to do is create a pathway where I'm the middleman between the potato farmer and the fish catcher. And I tell him, set up another boat. Now that I've given you all the potatoes you want, how many boats do you have? Well, I have a broken boat. I know how to fix a boat. Now I'm being the ferryman. And that's the river Styx. That's a barter system. There's a huge amount of escalation you can do with it. There's not really any inflation, but everybody has a different value for everything. Meanwhile, I could work aboard the boat, being the rowboat guy, get 1 potato's worth a day of value, not starve to death, not have anything else. But they would all have to take my shekels or whatever I bring them. Economic systems are very, very complicated or can be very simple. They can be shackling you or lifting you up. And remember, if you mined gold, you could just stamp it into a coin and it was a coin because it was based on its value. $35 to an ounce in the United States at one point. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. Remember, the purpose and intent. That's what's important, not what you have. It's what it's meant to be.